I haven't had communication with Banks for a long period of time, right?
He couldn't even tell you, like, at any point when you speak to him what a problem is. I put him, like, where I put Marquise.
You and Banks are not hanging out at the strip club.
50 Cent takes some responsibility for Lloyd Banks for toting Ayo.
What responsibility? Like a parent?
You're the leader.
What responsibility am I taking for him? Like, explain to me.
That you didn't encourage them to be independent sooner.
Nah, that's not true.
Lloyd Banks is finally breaking his silence, and he's not holding back. After years of shade, disrespect, and twisted stories from 50 Cent, Banks is clapping back and setting the record straight.
The guy has Lazy Lloyd tattooed on his arm. He literally wears his laziness on his sleeve. He's always projected an unhelpful mixture of being both introverted and cocky at the same time.
We all remember when G-Unit ran the rap game. 50 was the spotlight, no doubt, but it was Banks who brought the heat. His gritty voice, sharp delivery, and slick wordplay gave the crew its backbone. They weren't just a group, they were supposed to be brothers. But fame changed everything.
They think this is something. Wait till they see Lloyd Banks.
Out of nowhere, 50 started throwing Banks under the bus. In interviews, in his book, he called him lazy, said he didn't want success bad enough, like he just gave up on life. And through all that noise, Banks stayed quiet. No messy back and forths online, no interviews throwing dirt, just silence. Until now.
That's so, Banks' temperament was definitely a little crazy. I'm not saying anything here that I haven't said to Banks directly. Another time I sat down with him, just when IG was starting to pop off, and tried to drop this gem on him. You gotta get on Instagram, I encouraged him. You can be a little awkward in person, so this is actually a better way for you to communicate with people. Nah, I don't want to do it, he said. Why not? You can literally put punchlines under your pictures, make some new fans. Nah, that's corny, he told me. When Banks made that comment to me, I realized he had gone as far as he can go. In fact, my exact thought was, this is someone I can't invest another minute or dollar in.
In a rare, raw interview, Banks finally aired it out, and it's clear. He's tired of 50 rewriting the past. Banks said plain and simple, when life hit him the hardest, 50 was nowhere to be found. That lazy tag, straight up false according to him. He claims he was working, grinding, growing, healing, just not in the flashy, camera-hungry way 50 wanted. And of course, 50 didn't take that well. As usual, he jumped on socials and fired shots right back, throwing slick shade like it's 2003 again.
He's a very good lyricist. Among what are known as the punchline rappers who will end their bars with a funny or tongue-in-cheek line, Banks like to call himself the PLK or Punchline King. I don't know if he's the king, but I'll give it to him that he's in the conversation. He is not, however, a great live performer, stylish dresser, or a domineering personality. So if he doesn't check those three boxes, how is he going to get bigger and become the star in real life he is in his head?
But now fans are asking, who's really telling the truth? Did Banks fall off, or did 50 just kick him down when he needed a lifeline? Was the G-Unit brotherhood ever real, or was it all just smoke and mirrors?
I haven't had communication with Banks for a long period of time, right?
He couldn't even tell you, like, at any point when you speak to him what a problem is. I put him, like, where I put Marquise.
You and Banks are not hanging out at the strip club.
No, he goes though.
But you don't go.
No, I don't see me there. We went to Atlantic City. We was in it was a showcase. They expect a show to happen tonight. Yeah, like, we will see you at the show tonight. And I go, oh, they expecting a show. Like, I was like, yo, call all of them, tell them to come here. When I asked Banks, like, when you go to perform your shows, you don't do this song? This is the hardest record on your. And he's like, why? Cause you won? I looked at it and I was like, trying to understand where he was coming from. He had been on my last record. He's like, I ain't been on your record, this and that. And I was like, so what? You don't have to be on none of my records. Like, me being on your records is the favor. I put you on a record with Eminem on my first album, fool. Don't nobody even know you. We were anticipating success, not as much success as we actually had. Mm-hmm. And it would have been sufficient if we had the success.
Let's break it all the way down. Lloyd Banks stayed quiet for years, never clapped back, never aired out drama. But that silence just got shattered after 50 Cent randomly took another jab at him for no reason.
Banks was around 14 years old when Biggie and Pac were both popping. So that makes sense that they still resonate with him so deeply. I can relate. I still love the music from when I was that age too. The difference is I haven't patterned my career after KRS-One and Kool G Rap. What would be the point of that? They were both incredible in their moment. But I've always been concerned about creating my own moment rather than copying theirs. Years ago, I told Banks to film a video of his life and post it on YouTube. Introduce people to his lifestyle. Let the camera follow him around for a while and see how he moves. Maybe something he says or does will create a spark, go viral, and then he'll have some heat around him again. What I didn't want him to do was sit there writing punchline after punchline and then grow resentful when no one seemed to care about his mixtapes anymore. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Before adding Biggie and Pac didn't do that shit. They're dead, my man, I told him. They died before this stuff was even invented. And how do you know they wouldn't be posting on IG if they were alive? It was a line of thinking that really blew my mind. It suggested that if Tupac was alive, he'd still be wearing leather vests and red bandanas tied around his head, sending girls his beeper number. Or that Biggie would still be wearing Gucci sweaters and playing Mortal Kombat 2 every night. In Banks' case, a lot of his failure to grow as an artist is connected to his emotional composition. Banks grew up in the same neighborhood as me, but was never a part of it in the same way. I actually hustled with his father. Banks was more content staying on his porch and watching the world from there. There's nothing wrong with that, but it underscored a particular aspect of his personality. Banks wanted things to come to him, as opposed to going out and getting them for himself. That's not me trying to assassinate his character. The guy has Lazy Lloyd tattooed on his arm. He literally wears his laziness on his sleeve. He's always projected an unhelpful mixture of being both introverted and cocky at the same time. The kind of person most comfortable being a big fish in a small pond. If Banks was hanging out in the studio with a bunch of unknown MCs, he'd be very confident. He'd enjoy being the center of attention. But if I suddenly showed up, he'd feel like he got demoted. He'd be bitter. He didn't feel like the center of attention anymore. I get it. I can take up a lot of the air in the room. The problem is that he'd never fight to get some of that oxygen back, which is exactly what a star is supposed to do. I believe a true star must possess 4 fundamental abilities: create great material, be a high-energy live performer, have a unique appearance, and possess a strong personality. Tupac had all 4. So does Mary J. Blige, Chris Brown too. If I'm being honest in evaluating Banks, he possesses maybe one of those qualities.
Banks finally had enough and decided to speak up. So here's what went down. During a behind-the-scenes clip from his tour, 50 dropped Lloyd's name along with Young Bucks. But instead of showing love, he threw slick shade, making it sound like Lloyd's career was a flop. And once again, 50 tried to clown his success like Banks ain't still out here working.
But when we came to that room, we talked about, I think I irritated him earlier playing with the Entourage. Yeah. But MO and them, like, cause I look.
Thanks, is that true? Now here's where it gets real. Unlike 50, Lloyd doesn't live on Instagram. He ain't on podcasts spilling tea or throwing sneaky jabs in interviews. He keeps it solid. But during a rare interview, Banks was finally asked straight up about his relationship with 50. And that's when the gloves came off. He didn't dodge the question. He didn't sugarcoat it. Banks said that whole lazy image 50 did was dead wrong. Around the same time 50 was calling him unmotivated and washed up, Banks was grieving. His father had just passed away. He was in a dark place dealing with deep personal pain.
I'd rather be robbed at gunpoint than be betrayed. Not that I suggest you try it. At least getting robbed is exciting. There's an undeniable rush when somebody pulls out their piece and growls, "Get on the fucking floor." Once it's over, provided you don't get shot, you can go tell your friends, "Yo, they just stuck me up." Your pockets might be lighter, but you'll be much stronger overall, having survived the experience. Getting betrayed is different. You don't get a great war story out of it. I've never heard anyone get hyped telling their friends, "Yo, you won't believe this, but I just got backstabbed by my mans." There are no stripes earned for that shit. When you open yourself up to someone, either financially or emotionally, and they go left on you, it's a different kind of pain, even more dramatic than a stick-up kid physically taking something from you. Like Malcolm X said, to me, the thing that is worse than death is betrayal. You see, I can conceive death, but I could not conceive betrayal.
And instead of support from someone he once called a brother, he got humiliated publicly. Interviews, books, IG posts, even memes. 50 made his pain a punchline. And according to Banks, it wasn't a one-time thing. It felt like a whole campaign to tear him down while he was already struggling behind the scenes.
Because I find betrayal so painful, I put incredible thought and consideration into the people who surround me. As I detailed in this chapter, when I was first coming up, I made a mistake of confusing loyalty and location. It's a miscalculation a lot of people make. wanting to believe that just because someone is from the same streets as you, that they're gonna have your back forever. I learned the hard way that that's not the case. I think everyone's a little afraid of being too trustful, but I'm definitely worse than most. In my life, I feel like I've been betrayed by people I deserve better from. People I've given money to, opportunities to, love to, even life to. Because of that, for a long time, the only thing I had faith in was money. I only trusted the paper that says, "In God we trust." This is one of the reasons the theme of betrayal is so prominent in my show Power. It's an issue that's always on my mind, so much so that I even called the last season The Final Betrayal.
So here's where the real tension kicks in. 50 Cent once admitted that Banks had bars, but he quickly flipped it, saying Lloyd didn't have the charisma or grind to ever be a real star. Cold, right? But Banks wasn't buying any of that, and this time he's firing back with the fact.
Actually, your son wants to sit down with you.
No, he doesn't. See, Charlamagne, you would call me. You don't call TMZ to say you want to sit down. Think about it, man. You know, you want some attention. You know? And it's okay, you can have as much of that as you want. You know, it's just like he's been trained to believe what you see him say in that interview, that what he was saying, he's been trained to believe that for a long time, bro. Like, you don't just wake up and say, "Oh, well, I don't believe what I've been believing forever."
But never be open to it?
No, I don't think the relationship works. Look, for a long time, Charlamagne, I went running behind him. I went places that he went, and he left the place.
Banks said straight up 50 wasn't there when it mattered most. Not during the losses, not during the silence, not during the pain, no brotherhood, no support, just public digs when he was already dealing with personal tragedy. And for Banks, that hurt more than any diss track ever could. As for the claim that he fell off, Banks shut that narrative down. Since 2021, he's dropped 3 full-length projects, the course of the inevitable series. No radio hits, no label hype, just pure, unfiltered bars. If you've been paying attention, Banks never stopped rapping. He just stopped playing the industry's fake game. And that right there, that's what 50 never understood. Banks wasn't chasing viral fame or designer deals. He wasn't out here begging for clicks or dropping gimmicks. He's about the pen, not the politics. A rapper's rapper focused on lyricism and longevity, not being the loudest voice in the room. But in 50's world, if you're not boosting the brand, you're baggage, period.
If you don't do it, like if I don't give him something that he wanted, murder, then he's gonna go back to doing what we did. You remember saying that to me?
Oh, I don't remember.
You don't remember saying that? Yeah, tell him Vlad all cut.
I don't want to get into all that. My look better than Vlad. You think you tell me the fact? My nice.
They don't even look like the same dude to me
nice
on
for them
Vlad.
stories.
Murder, real shit coming out.
And Banks? He wasn't trying to be anyone's sidekick anymore. He outgrew the empire mindset. And for someone like 50, that felt like betrayal. Let's rewind real quick, because to really understand this fallout, you gotta know how deep it used to run. Lloyd Banks, 50 Cent, and Tony Yayo weren't just label mates. They were childhood homies, straight out of South Jamaica, Queens. This wasn't no label-assembled group. These were street kids with dreams, using rap to escape the struggle. And when 50 exploded with Get Rich or Die Tryin', he didn't forget who was with him from the jump. He brought his crew with him and turned the whole thing into a movement. G-Unit wasn't just a rap group, it was a lifestyle. And Banks was the lyrical monster. While 50 had the star power and catchy hooks, Banks brought that gritty, no-nonsense flow that hip-hop heads respected. His mixtapes were legendary. Money in the Bank, the Cold Corner series, all straight heat.
I think that's over. I think that's done. But
What do you mean?
I think his career is finished. You know what I'm saying? And it's because, like, his temperament, he won't actually get himself, like right now he's in jail, but knowing who he is from the entire time that he's been around, I don't think he has what it takes to recover from, you know, like it takes discipline at that point, because it's when people begin to want to give you resistance. Hip hop culture is out with the old and with the new.
Then in 2004, Banks dropped The Hunger for More, and it was a wrap. That album went platinum in less than a month. On Fire, Karma, I'm So Fly, all bangers, all Banks. At that point, G-Unit looked unstoppable. 50 was running the charts, Banks was proving himself as a legit MC, Yayo had just come home and was making noise. And soon after, Young Buck and Game joined the mix. They had it all. Music, fashion, video games, even Reebok deals. They weren't just stars, they were a brand. And Banks? He wasn't in the background, he was front and center, helping build that sound and identity. Even 50 used to admit Banks was one of the coldest lyricists in the crew. But fame don't come without pressure. The higher they climbed, the more cracks started to show. Loyalty got tested, egos got bigger, and before long, the empire started to shake. And eventually, it broke. Buck got the boot, and things just kept spiraling. The game went rogue, and just like that, the G-Unit dynasty started unraveling. The crew that once dominated everything from charts to streetwear began losing that spark. And through it all, Lloyd Banks quietly started pulling away. Banks was never the loudmouth in the crew, but now, he wasn't even in the picture. No drama, no public beef, just straight up distance. And fans noticed. The G-Unit energy had shifted. What used to feel like a tight squad started to look more like solo artists wearing the same jersey. The chemistry? Gone. According to 50 Cent, the internal drama got so deep there's zero chance G-Unit could ever reunite again. Too much dirt, too many wounds. But here's the thing. While 50 kept doing press and appearances, Banks was disappearing from the spotlight. He stopped doing interviews, stopped showing up at events, and kept a low profile. To the outside world, it looked like Banks just gave up. But insiders say it wasn't that simple. The pressure, the grief, the toxic dynamics behind the scenes, it all added up. And while Banks was going through real life off camera, 50 stayed busy painting him as lazy, unmotivated, and stuck in the past. In interview after interview, 50 pushed the same message. He did everything to help Banks, but Banks just didn't want it bad enough. Said he lacked the hustle, didn't get the business side, and refused to evolve. But now with Banks finally speaking up, fans are starting to question that whole narrative. In one interview, 50 Cent dropped a cold line. He said Banks had all the talent but zero hustle. He even clowned him for staying off social media like that was some kind of weakness. But here's the thing, Banks never cared about being loud online. That's just not who he is. He's always been low-key, locked in, doing the work behind the scenes. No chasing clout, no fake industry moves. And while some fans respected him for that realness, 50 saw it as a problem, said it made him a liability instead of an asset. Then 50 dropped his book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, and that's when it got real personal. In the book, he didn't just throw light shade, he called out Banks and Yayo by name, said they were stuck in the past, too comfortable, refusing to evolve. He basically labeled Banks a missed opportunity, someone with the skills to be great but no fire to push forward. That book marked a major shift. It was the first time 50 publicly created real space between himself and Banks. And even though Banks didn't clap back in interviews, fans think he did respond the only way he knows how, through bars. On his track, Stranger Things, the tone said it all. And this is where Banks and 50 see success totally different. For 50, it's about empire building, fame, and constant motion. But Banks says he already won. To him, success means doing what you love, staying true to yourself, and taking care of your people, not being on every screen every second. And yeah, he even owned the Lazy label with that infamous Lazy Lloyd tattoo. Even Lloyd Banks admits it, he's a laid-back dude. That's just who he is. He's not out here pretending to be something he's not. So when 50 called him out for being lazy, Banks didn't exactly deny being chill, but he made it very clear it ain't about being unmotivated. For Banks, it's never been about the fame, the drama, or the constant spotlight. He just wants to make music and let the art speak for itself. He's not trying to be everywhere or play the industry politics game. But 50, he saw that as a lack of ambition, a wasted lane, a loss of momentum. But there's a deeper issue underneath all this. For 50 Cent, loyalty is everything. He's said it in interviews, he's written it in his books. He lives by that code, and anyone who steps out of line even a little gets the axe fast. He even wrote in Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter that he'd rather have a gun in his face than be betrayed by someone close. That's how personal it gets for him. According to 50, when he rides for someone, he rides hard. He's willing to go all in, risk it all, and stand by you no matter what. So when someone he's helped turns around and, in his eyes, stabs him in the back, that's not just business, it's war. And this ain't just about Lloyd. 50's got a track record of cutting off people he feels weren't loyal. Look at his own son, Marquise. The relationship is dead because 50 felt he wasn't loyal enough. His own blood. If 50 can ice out his son, what chance do friends or business partners even have? Even Tony Yayo, one of the original G-Unit members, wasn't safe. Yayo was 50's right-hand man for years, but once whispers of disloyalty started flying, whether they were facts or just rumors, 50 had no problem calling him out publicly. And then there's young Buck, another major piece of the G-Unit puzzle in the early 2000s. Buck brought that Southern energy, the hunger, and a whole different flavor to the crew. But the moment 50 even smelled disloyalty, he didn't just cut Buck off, he publicly booted him in the most dramatic way possible. Same story with the Game. At one point, Game was the hottest G-Unit signee, dropping hits, moving units, setting trends. But when tensions started rising, 50 didn't just let it slide. Their fallout became legendary. Diss tracks, interviews, public jabs, their beef lit up the rap world. So when 50 saw that viral reunion photo of Lloyd Banks in the Game, that was it. No more middle ground. That flick was the final nail in the coffin. 50 took to Instagram and posted his reaction, but then deleted it. Luckily, fans caught it. He wrote, "What do you see when you look at this picture? I see confusion. I'm not sure if it's just me. I'm a Cancer-ish. Don't get old with me. I never asked for trouble, but I really don't have a problem with it. I'm different. The question isn't how I feel about it, but how does Loey Mac feel about it? Some ish is just better off left alone." That cryptic caption said it all. 50 felt blindsided. And when he feels crossed, there's no coming back. Do you think Banks was just showing love, or was that reunion a subtle shot at 50? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're loving these deep dives, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one.